We don't know exactly what's happening with Donald Trump and the FBI raid on his home. We think we know. It's being reported that they were looking for documents that may have been classified. But that really doesn't make sense. Now, look, I'm not suggesting anything else. I'm just saying something is missing from the story. And of course, something would be missing from the story. The search warrant is sealed. So I'll put it this way, and I'll put it very simply. I don't know if there's a grand conspiracy or anything like that. Typically, I'm not a fan of making assumptions about things without evidence. What I can say is Trump's home was raided by the FBI. They had actually told him to lock the door in the past few months. And then it's being reported they actually broke the door. So something right there is getting weird. What we do know is that we don't know exactly what's going on or why. And if it was just about securing these documents, as many have reported, why not just release the sealed warrant and let us see exactly what this is about? Donald Trump has issued another statement suggesting FBI agents may have been planting evidence at Mar-a-Lago. Let me slow down and walk you through the very simple, strange circumstances. A few months ago, it was reported that the FBI instructed Trump, his people, to secure the room. But then they came and broke the lock. They said, well, that's weird. They had been working with Trump and his people to look into the documents that he did have. Why break their way into this room? Well, when you learn that the judge who signed off on the search warrant previously worked for Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, and that's strange. In strange circumstances, nonetheless. That is, he was a federal prosecutor and then opened a private practice working for Jeffrey Epstein, switching sides, as many have suggested, and then actually represented Epstein's lieutenants. Epstein then received a plea deal, which I think mostly kept him out of a federal prison. So something seems strange. And the theory as it goes now, not that I'm suggesting it's true or anything like that, is that within the FBI, there is not a single structure that we are looking at. I'll put it this way. Let me slow down. I've talked to people who work for the federal government. And what they've told me is a lot of people think like the FBI is monolithic, that the CIA or these other agencies, institutions are monolithic. That's not what they tell me. Now, again, I've only talked to like one or two guys. And a source of mine from one of these agencies said that within the federal agencies, it is split as like the culture war is. That in the United States, we have this divide of ideology. It exists within these institutions as well. The problem? The anti-woke are too scared to speak up because the other side's a death cult. So they don't. And then you end up with, FBI agents investigating garage pull rope, but not going after more serious crimes and offenses, maybe like Hunter Biden. Now, Hunter Biden may actually be indicted, so I don't want to overlook that. Not here to defend the FBI, but at least to point out, we have reported that Hunter Biden may actually be indicted. But come on, we'll see. Here's where things get weird. Now, I don't know about Donald Trump's statements about FBI agents planting evidence. We'll take a look at what he said. But if it is being reported, take a look at this, that lawyers received instructions to secure Trump's document room months before the FBI search at Mar-a-Lago. If the FBI said, hey, secure this room, it's unsafe, and they did, why then would the FBI come and break the lock? Well, if you're operating under the assumption the FBI is monolithic and, they said, hey, lock it, then they show up and break it, doesn't make sense. But if you're operating under the assumption that the FBI is actually fragmented or fractured, this makes a lot more sense. Could it be that there are elements in the FBI that are acting independently or separately from other elements in the FBI? I'd have to say, probably. Aren't there like 40,000 FBI agents? So it may not be the same top-down structure. The FBI agents that ordered Trump to secure the room may not have been taking directions from the head of the FBI, from Wray. These office agents who smashed the lock may have been. Don't know. Now, of course, the theory is rogue elements. You've got a judge who worked for Epstein, and FBI agents breaking a lock doesn't sound like they're part of any kind of official structure. What I mean to say is the actual top-down structure apparently was already working with Trump. They wouldn't need to have broken in. You get the point. Again, I'm not a fan of conspiracy theories. I think any good journalist would ask questions and then, form a hypothesis and seek answers. But to put it simply, I would say this. The simple solution, as often it always is, they didn't want. They were worried about documents being destroyed, so they broke the lock. I mean, it's just much more simple. Donald Trump suggests they planted evidence. Look, these things can happen. They're within the realm of physical possibility. I don't outright dismiss their possibilities, although the corporate press would demand you do. I just want to point out the potentiality. FBI agents say to Trump, lock the door. An Epstein judge says, get in there and get those documents. The FBI agents weren't the same ones, or had they been acting appropriately, they could have just asked and said, hey, open it up. Unless, of course, these agents were not the same agents, unless, of course, Trump would have challenged these particular agents, you see, it may not be monolithic. But I don't know. I can only say this. We don't know what's in the sealed warrant. Here's a story from Newsweek. Former President Donald Trump has suggested that the FBI could have been planting evidence at Mar-a-Lago during a raid that the agency carried out on Monday. Trump took to his social media site Truth Social early on Wednesday and criticized the search of his Florida residence, where FBI agents reportedly seized a dozen boxes as part of an investigation into a handling of presidential documents. The FBI and others from the federal government would not let anyone, including my lawyers, be anywhere near the areas that were rummaged and otherwise looked at during the raid on Mar-a-Lago, Trump wrote. I can put it simply. I don't believe there's any kind of conspiracy. Conspiracy typically implies secret actions taken by two or more people for unethical or criminal ends. What I think is most likely here is that the FBI is not as monolithic as people think. And the reason why this happened likely is because there's different leadership structures. It's really that simple. Now, granted, this goes to the highest level. I really doubt a group of FBI agents did this without the approval of Wray, the head of the FBI. So, we'll see. Quote, everyone was asked to leave the premises. They wanted to be left alone without any witnesses to see what they were doing, taking, or hopefully not planting. Why did they strongly insist on having nobody watching them, everybody out? Obama and Clinton were never raided despite big disputes. FBI agents carried out the raid on former President's Palm Beach home on Monday after a warrant was approved by Florida federal magistrate judge Bruce Reinhart. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Apparently, the website, which lists the judges in Florida, removed Bruce Reinhart's page. It now cannot be accessed, or at least I've seen several reporters stating as such. Some are arguing that it's because of protests. I don't think they did anything to protect the judges in the Supreme Court when they issued their rulings, but different court, I suppose, so fine. Strange nonetheless. Of course, many are outraged. Quote, scam after scam, year after year, it is the radical left Democrats. It is all the radical left Democrats really know it is their lifeblood. They have no shame. Our country is paying a very big price, Trump added. Now, there's other big news that Trump is going to testify to Letitia James, the state's attorney general in New York. We'll get into that in a second. I want to show you this. Lawyers received instructions to secure Trump's document room months before the FBI search at Mar-a-Lago. Interesting. The sources told CNN aides added a padlock in order to secure the room. On Monday, Trump confirmed reports the FBI executed a warrant. Sources told ABC News the search was related to 15 boxes of documents Trump took from the White House to Mar-a-Lago following the end of his presidency. During the FBI search Monday morning, the agency was verifying that no other documents were still at the resort after the National Archives retrieved the documents in February, a source told CNN. Investigators met with Trump's lawyer at Mar-a-Lago months ago to evaluate the documents Trump had taken during his time at the White House. Trump was also present during the meeting, albeit momentarily. The CNN report does not specify when exactly investigators met with Trump, but said Trump aides were interviewed about the documents by the FBI in April and May. It was, I believe, NBC reported they broke the padlock. I think it was NBC. I could be wrong. So they ask for a padlock. It gets put on. Then they break it. That doesn't make sense. Unless, of course, again, FBI not a monolith. Now, what's being implied here by Business Insider is that this is much less nefarious than many people might think. That they were simply going there to make sure that there were no other documents. And that's why they didn't tell anybody, so they broke the lock and they went in and, okay, maybe that's true. But if they were working with Donald Trump and his people, why not just ask? Unless their goal was to dig up dirt on Donald Trump, was to try to find something to inhibit him from holding office. Because we know there's that law that the Democrats are pushing that says anybody who conceals, mutilates, or otherwise documents must forfeit their office, and they would not be allowed to hold office again. So that's why Trump is now suggesting the planting of evidence. It's simple. They could have walked in. I think what we're seeing here is they're trying to catch Trump in something. I think this is entirely political. I mean, of course, Mark Elias suggested that they have an opportunity to remove Trump. But more importantly, the Washington Post ran a story saying there's other ways to stop Trump from running for office without prosecuting him. So I didn't come up with the idea. It's what I truly find funny about how the corporate press handles the commentary that I do. Tim Pool suggests this in Wild Theory. And it's like, I just read you, dude. I read the Washington Post that said that's basically what they're doing. And I went, how about that? Maybe y'all shouldn't do that. But then they like to attribute all of these things to me. Yeah, I'm just a dude reading the news and then complaining on the internet. Try again. Thomas Massey coming out. He says, the Biden administration has crossed a line. We can't wait 2 more years to correct it. After the 2022 elections, Congress must use the power of the purse to rein in the DOJ and FBI. Any Republican who tells you that's not possible is too addicted to big government to fix this. Yep. One person responded saying, sorry, can't agree. Every administration always says they'll investigate the sins of the previous administration, which are always considerable, and no one ever does until now. Quite frankly, this sets a good precedent. Well, you know what? I'll tell you. There is one morsel of positivity. The executive branch actually getting some scrutiny, regardless, ain't always a bad thing. But we know there's a double standard. So, sorry. In the end, I just see this as ripping this country apart. And it's tough. It's tough. I want to see accountability for the executive branch. But when Hillary Clinton, the Clintons, and the Uniparty get away with everything they do, and it's only Donald Trump who faces scrutiny, you're not going to play that game with me. That's not the scrutiny I'm talking about. I'm talking about the military-industrial complex. I'm talking about the bureaucratic state. I'm talking about the FBI and the CIA. And what Thomas Massey is saying is to use the power of the purse to rein them in, cut their budgets, defund the FBI. Hey, man, shout out to our good friends on the progressive left, people like Hassan Piker. Bro, you want to defund the FBI? How about the one thing we can agree on would be that, and we do it? Is that okay? Can we all just agree on that? Can we get like the Freedom Caucus, some Republicans and Democrats to come together and agree, but you know what? The Uniparty would never allow it. You may get 20 or 30 votes between Freedom Caucus and progressives being like, we want to defund the FBI. And then every single other rank and file or otherwise, they're going to be like, nope. No, they're not going to let that happen. Of course not. Here's the issue. From the Daily Wire. Nearly 8 in 10 Americans believe the U.S. has a 2-tiered justice system. Yeah. Why wouldn't you believe that? The National Issues Survey of more than 1,000 likely general election voters conducted between July 24th and 28th by Trafalgar Group found that 79.3% of Americans believe that the United States has a 2-tiered justice system with one set of laws for political insiders and another for average Americans. Notably, large majorities in both parties agreed with the idea. Now, probably for different reasons, because Democrats are going to be like, Donald Trump will never be held accountable. And the Republicans are going to be like, Hillary Clinton will never be held accountable, or Joe Biden is more relevant at this point. The survey asked respondents, what is your opinion of the current state of the American justice system? 79.3 said, there are 2 tiers of justice in the American justice system. One set of laws for politicians and Washington, D.C. insiders versus one set of laws for everyday Americans. Just 11.6% of respondents answered that there is one system of justice with laws applied to all Americans equally. Another 9.1% of Americans were unsure. Yeah. I'll put it this way. Donald Trump, he ain't a saint, okay? There are many things I'd criticize the man for, but I don't see the criminal activity. Don't see it. They lied about Russiagate. They lied about his character. The media smeared and slammed him every other second. And it was all bunk. And there are some things that I absolutely think should be criticized. I often point out the State Department advertising Trump's resorts. Or how about Trump tried to have, I think it was the G7 at Trump Doral. Hey, we blocked that. And Trump said, fine, whatever. Not a fan of that stuff. I don't think Trump is perfect. But Joe Biden, what he did with his son, the quid pro quo, never an inquiry. Come on, when Donald Trump was trying to investigate Biden, they said it was a quid pro quo, and we got an impeachment. Can't we get nothing, even a morsel of accountability for Joe Biden? Yeah, it is a two-tiered justice system, and it ain't Trump. Trump was run over the coals for 4 years. Well, for longer than that. They accused him of working with Russia even before he got elected. Insane lies. Where is the accountability for any of these people? You know, for those of us who actually pay attention to the news and know what the truth is, we see it. The left, they're in a cult. They're in a cult. But I mean, just literally. And so they don't see it. But I'll take defunding the FBI. I think it's funny when Hassan's like, haha, Steven Crowder wants to defund the FBI. That's funny. It's like, bro, he's been saying this for years. But you're in a cult. You don't read the news. You don't follow people, and you don't know their opinions. You just march in lockstep with the narrative, not realizing that all around you, people like me and other right-wing individuals have been saying, maybe we should defund and abolish the police. Where are you at, bro? Come on. I've been talking about this for years. We had Michael Malice on. He talked about cops arresting people for having guns. And I'm like, fair point. Maybe big city police departments should be abolished. Let them, and it's twofold. Let the Democrats have what they want when they say it and see what happens to their cities. Fine. Or how about we recognize that police in big cities are violating constitutional rights all day, every day? Okay, fine. Fine, I agree. Abolish the police. I like sheriff's departments. Duly elected law enforcement. But it's really funny. I have tweets going back like 3 years saying defund the police. Or yeah, like I think maybe like 2 years. And the leftists are like, you support the police. And I'm like, bro, I don't think you watch my show. Well, it is fair to say to a degree, I support the police more than I agree with the left and their defund the police ideology. I certainly agree that we need accountability and we need criminal justice reform and prison reform. But this is my point. The left, maybe we would actually get something done here if they weren't in their cult and actually realize that when it comes to issues of like, I don't know, the ATF, the DOJ, the DHS, we probably agree on a lot of those things. So where are you at? Honestly, I don't know where they at. Breaking down the results by party, the survey found that strong majorities in both parties and independents believe in a two-tiered system. 66.7% of Democrats believed as a two-tiered system. They said out of Republicans, 87.8% agreed. And then out of independents, among those who had no party affiliation, 77.2% said there was a two-tiered justice system in America. Now, why is that? For two reasons. Why is that Democrats, although they do think so to a lower degree? Because they're the cult. Every time we get a poll like this, Democrats tend to favor the machine because you're in a cult. When Republicans are criticizing the government and the law enforcement agencies and the justice system, not a cult. They're the ones pointing the finger at the machine being like, broken. And the Democrats, while they do have some, overwhelmingly support the machine. And it's why the Democratic Party has become whiter and wealthier while claiming white people are the problem. Yo, dude, look in a mirror. Y'all are in a cult. Quote, what we're seeing reflected strongly in these numbers is the sentiment that, quote, there is no equal justice in America has become an almost universally held opinion. Yep. And I'll throw it to the Daily Wire again. Judge who approved FBI raid disparaged Trump, shared woke content on Facebook. The system is broken, my friends. The judge in the Alex Jones trial, people are posting these photos showing like woke memes and blue hair and stuff. And they're saying that this judge was biased against Alex Jones from the get-go, not giving him a chance to defend himself at all. And it's crazy. The judge who approved the raid disparaged Trump. That's not impartiality. You should recuse yourself. But there is a two-tiered justice system. And I think what we're seeing with the FBI, this raid shows there may be a fracturing in the federal agencies, that the culture war reaches the highest level of government. Don't forget, Project Veritas had a brave whistleblower from the FBI give them documents. So clearly not everyone in the FBI is on board with whatever's going on. So what is going on, man? I think the system is being ripped apart, and I think the culture war extends to every facet of this country. You probably see it in a dentist's office. You probably see it in a supermarket. There's a great app. We had the guys from Public Square, publicsq.com on yesterday. There's an app you can download that will show you businesses that support American values. So you can make sure you're not giving your money to people who hate you. This is the emergence of the parallel economy. Download Public Square, man. I'm super impressed and excited for this app because I'm going to be using it every day. Anytime I need to go do something, I'm going to be making sure that the businesses I shop at have made a pledge to American values. But that just goes to show a parallel economy is emerging. And what that precipitates is unknown, but it may be dark days indeed. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.